Green, blue, and gray, that's what we rock. On top, right with us. Glad to hear y'all dropped in. On top, slide with us. Walt and Dave get locked in, and let's go.
Hey guys, it's Dave DeRocher, and this is Hawk Talk. So Walter is running a little bit late. He's still coaching the girls softball team with his wife, and we give him a hard time because he's coached everything now but football. But he's having a great time being of service to the community and to his school there in West Covina. So don't want to give him too much of a hard time. And we're still trying to figure out if he's the head coach or the assistant coach because his wife. I think he's a better athlete than he is. Anyhow, hey, always want to give credit to NEMS and to Kid Sensation for our intro. That's the abbreviated version. They did a full anthem for us. Once in a while, we'll make sure we throw it up there so you guys can hear the talent and the time that those guys put together to do our intro. It's really pretty cool to have such notable guys give their time to do that for us. So anyway, shout out to NEMS and to Kid Sensation. And you might notice I'm colorblind, so I thought this was gray. My fiance goes, Dave, why are you wearing a pink hat? Well, because this is Dink Ninja, and we are hosting. And hey, all you 12s, especially you 12s in Austin at the Common Interest, I'm going to read out some names: Stephanie, Nix Hawk, Mike Zapato, which isn't his real name, but Mike, you know who you are. Wendy Harris, Eric Gardner. All you guys at the Common Interest, we are coming out to Austin, and we are going to do a 300-person tournament at the Pickle Ranch in Austin, and we're raising money for a guy you might know, Nate Boyer. That Green Beret guy that walked on to University of Texas and then was a free agent to the Seattle Seahawks. Nate and Jay Glazier launched a program called Merging Vets and Players, MVP. So we're going to raise some money for that platform because they do a lot of great work for our veterans. And then they include guys like us, former players. And for those of you that don't know, I'll give you a little bit, because we have a little bit of time till Walt joins us, is that Merging Vets and Players is a program that he founded because he was having a hard time in transition. And what we do is we get together veterans of all different departments. No, that's not the right word, but you guys know I make up stuff sometimes, but I'll figure out what it is. But all the different Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard get together. We work out for an hour, and then we take a break, and then we sit around the mat and we just dump our stuff. And there's so many similarities of former football players, NFL players, and folks leaving the service. That we can kind of talk on the same level on a lot of things about identity, losing our identity in that transition, which can be tough for a lot of us. And I'm sure you guys have all heard about it. Anyway, so we're supporting MVP, and of course my program, the First and Goal Project, will be also a benefactor of that program. Whispers are we have some names that we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we do have invitations out to Matthew McConaughey, to the Undertaker, and then a bunch of guys like me and other former players. A lot of baseball, former MLB guys will be there, and it's going to be a great event. It's going to be May 10th at the Pickle Ranch. Sign up. There's flyers everywhere, all over the place. So that's coming up, and then we are going to attend our 4th Super Bowl week on Media Row, and that's going to be with Sideline Sports, the guys that helped launch us. And JB, John, Jay, a handful of cats. And then my buddy, one of the best global odds makers in the country, well, global, so in the world, is Rafael Esparza. And actually, Rafael is going to hop on, and we are going to talk some odds. We're going to talk some odds about, maybe Seahawks football. I don't know if we can get ahead of next season, but we had some discussions before the season about the over under on the wins, right? And I didn't put my money where my mouth was, but you knew I was convinced we were going to be over 8 wins.
Yes, you did. I'll give you credit for that. I will give you full blown credit for that. Now this season's going to be a little bit interesting to see what they have. They have some holes to fill. I think they need a backup quarterback. I think that's something they really need to look into. I think every NFL team really needs a solid backup quarterback now these days. It's not like the days before where you could just have some Joe Schmo holding up a clipboard and you're sitting pretty. But I think that's something they have to look forward to, and I think they need to get back into the running of the game. I mean, they had some spurts of Seahawk football. They were running the ball. The tight ends were getting the open field because they were able to run the ball successful, and then they went away with it. So I think there's a lot of holes that they need to fill. But it's going to be very interesting to see what Seattle does, because I had them. Me and you had this discussion. I thought 6-7 wins, and you always told me 8 you would go above. So hats off to you. You were right, and I was wrong.
But you know me, Raphael. I don't like to gamble because I feel like I always jinx it. Like and especially when it's like the guarantees. What do they call that?
Never say the L word. The lock.
The lock. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a lock. And them going over 8 wins was a lock to me. I just we looked at the schedule. It was funny. One of our first shows of this season, we had we always have our former player guest. I kind of forget who it was, and then we had our 12, and our 12 did a game. She said, "Let's run through the season, and everyone make their picks. Is it a win or a loss? Just win or a loss." And we were all over 10 wins. I think we were all over 10 wins, and we were giving them a little bit too much credit on some of these ones towards the end of the season, which of course we didn't win. The Green Bay and the Vikings, and so yeah, we're right. The offensive line is an area of concern, so we can run the ball. We've got great running backs, great skill players, great defense, great defensive line. We could use a little bit of more in the middle, maybe like one more solid player in the middle, and then and see what we can draft as far as offensive line work. I think we should probably go out in free agency and pick up a couple of people.
Yeah, I would think they would probably do that from the line itself. Like that. This draft, I don't think it's offensive line heavy. There's a couple good cats, but I think by the time you're up there and for drafting, I don't think those guys are going to be there. So I would think free agency is where they're going to look to maybe plug some holes in the offensive line.
Yep. So anyway, hey, we're going to be back in at the Super Bowl, New Orleans this year, which is in your backyard. But you have a few backyards.
I have a few, just two. Everyone thinks they have multi backyards, just two.
Well, we were in your backyard last year, and then
I'm trying to get a home in Northern Cal for next year. Northern Cal, I'm trying to purchase one there, so I'll be 3 straight homes.
Don't do it, man. It's overrated. You don't want to live there. And it'll be my backyard, so kind of 2 hours away. But so anyhow, hey, as we ramp up, who's the odds favorite going into it? We'll break them down when we get Walt in here and we can have 3 opinions. But since you're the best odds maker in the world, global odds maker, what are the odds for the top teams to make it to the Super Bowl?
I mean, I think the Chiefs are always going to be there no matter how they play, just because they're shooting for 3. I mean, back to back, you figure the money was going to be on them. I would say keep an eye out for, I think the Lions. But I've been saying this all day long. Whoever wins Buffalo or Baltimore, I believe, is the winner of the Super Bowl. So yeah. I think whoever wins that game, and it's going to be a great game. I mean, this game, I would easily pay Netflix prices, pay-per-view prices. This game is going to be probably one of the better games. And I thought Washington's game last week against Tampa was going to be the best game. It turned out to be the best game in a horrible NFL wild card. But I think this Buffalo-Baltimore game is going to be really, really enjoyable. It's going to be interesting to see if the Ravens can run for 299 yards against the Steelers defense that look like Walter's softball team trying to tackle those guys back there. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the Detroit line or what the Buffalo Bills can do with that rushing attack that Baltimore has.
Yeah, that's amazing to see. The Steelers, who are touted as being one of the top defenses. You look at that defensive front. I don't know how strong the linebacking core is, but man, they just ran all over them.
That's why I can't really give too much. I mean, everyone wants to talk about all their quarterback play towards the last 5 games in their losing streak. Russell Wilson looked old, the play calling and all that. That's fine. Yeah, they were lacking, but that defense was their bread and butter during that whole week, all their winning streak, and they gave up a lot of yardage. and everyone. I mean, not just a losing streak here, but towards the end of the season, everyone was able to run against them. Everyone was able to throw. Tight ends were having field days against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, I mean, I know everyone wants to pinpoint everybody on their quarterback play and offensive play, but you got to give the defense. I think that's what some of the holes they need to fix. I think they need to fix that defense and of course, get a quarterback.
Yeah. I think everyone's a little bit long in the tooth there, including the coach.
He's staying. I don't think he goes unless for some odd reason, because he has a no trade clause. People keep on saying, "Oh, they can trade him." He's the only coach in the NFL that has a no trade clause.
I mean, he gets to the playoffs every year. I mean, when was the last time he didn't make the playoffs? I mean, that's a testament to his coaching ability. Obviously, he hasn't had strong teams. The NFL is always up and down, but if you can get into the playoffs, I mean, it's any given Saturday or Sunday in that capacity to be able to kind of go all the way. I mean, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah. So we had a conversation on Sideline Sports Walt about Coach Tomlin. So what are your thoughts? Because gosh, he's been coaching. You played against him.
Yeah.
How many years is he? It's 20 years.
It's got to be almost 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean,
you ran up against him. What are your thoughts about him?
I mean, you put it into perspective like this. Like, he was supposed to have a team that was not going to even scratch the playoffs at all. He got a Russell that was coming from Denver, didn't know. You got a Justin Fields that would come out of Chicago that was, people say he can't throw the ball, whatever the case is. In those first 2 games, he comes out and he win both games through defense, through, coaching, scheme, schematic, and they give Russell the helm, and they pop off 10 wins with a team that wasn't supposed to be nowhere near 10 wins. It's kind of like the Seahawks, right? We were supposed to be 7 wins, and you pop off 10, couldn't make the playoffs. But, it just says something for a coach that's able to pull a team together, regardless of the talent that's around them, to be able to get them up on Sundays or Mondays, Thursdays, and be able to go out there and compete and win games. And to your point, Ralph, do they have holes? Oh, yeah, for sure they have holes. But, I mean, that was expected. He wasn't expecting them to make the playoffs and then make the playoffs and then supersede that expectation. So now you can kind of build off of that going into the next season, this offseason, to fill those gaps, because some guys probably emerged that you didn't think that was going to be a player. You thought that was a hole, but a guy comes to emerge and plays at a very high level. And now you can kind of fix the pieces to get you to be that competitive football club. I mean, yeah, it's kind of tough. I mean, everyone wants the new change. Let's bring a new coach in, and like that guy's gonna get us a Super Bowl. And it's like there's so much turnover because now you're having to replace all the previous guys in that organization that have contracts that may not fit the proper scheme on offense, defense, special teams. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into that situation. You just can't replace a head coach and expect them to win right out the gate. I mean, usually it's a 3-year minimum for them to really get their team in order, their house cleared to be competitive in that capacity. I mean, that's what happened with Pete. I mean, you can look at a lot of coaches that kind of come on those first couple of years that get to that point. I mean, Harbaugh is first 10 with the Niners. I mean, it took him a couple of years, and he went to back-to-back NFC championships. Went to the Super Bowl with that against the Ravens there. That it was that power outage game.
It's gonna be. The quarterback play has to be their main focus, and I don't think Russell Wilson is the answer for next year. I don't think Justin Fields is the answer for next year. So what do? Do you try to swing the fences and call Minnesota and say, hey, what about Sam Darnold? Do you want to give him a 2-year contract? Or do you call the Jets and call Old Man Rivers and see if he's not smoking anything right now and try to bring Aaron Rodgers to come in and stuff like this? It's going to be very interesting. I'm hearing maybe they draft Quinn Ewers from Texas. He's probably going to be on the board when the Pittsburgh Steelers are drafting. You look that way, but is he your quarterback? They just haven't had a really good start into the youngster of Big Ben. Big Ben old was awful. I mean, he was awful. They haven't had that quarterback for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, the initial inclination is, hey, go draft somebody with that first pick if you can. You can possibly trade up. Who knows if there's a quarterback that's on the table that makes a lot of sense. And then you do have a Russell that can. Is Russell coming back next season? Is his contract?
If he wants to come back.
He's a unrestricted free agent this year.
He was signed for a 1-year deal in Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay. So he's not even there. So you need a quarterback anyway. Okay, yeah. So I mean, you can again potentially sign him and have him coach up and mentor a draft pick that you're looking to kind of be that franchise guy, or you kind of to your point, go in, try to go get A-Rod from the Jets and swing something to have a veteran quarterback there, or find someone else. Sam, I mean, you can go with Sam Darnold. He had a great year this year.
He had a great year.
How's
He
he
just
going to
got puckered up.
translate going over to a different organization? That's going to be the other question too, though. But he's a veteran quarterback, though. I mean, I think he took his bumps and bruises going from the Jets, going from Carolina, and found a home, and played some high quality football. I mean, the last 2 games weren't the best, but I mean, I think people figured out what they were doing offense.
Yeah, I think Sam left a lot of money on the table these last 2 games. Unfortunately, he did have a great season, and I could see him being more of a mentor type. I don't see Aaron Rodgers being a whole lot of a friendly, warm fuzzy mentor type. I think it's kind of a leave me alone and you just watch what I do guy. Um,
Yeah.
I do have one question for you, Walt. As a head coach, and I see some of these troubled players like a Pickens. Um, he's got a lot of talent, but man, he just does dumb stuff constantly. And that's a little bit newer thing because when I was in the league and playing with Chuck Knox, you did something stupid, you're selling cars the next day. I mean, it didn't matter who you were. You were going to be called out in front of everybody, and it just wasn't going to be tolerated. It seems like the newer coaches, the newer players, they kind of put up with a lot of on-field deals. Give a little insight to that. Did you have anybody that you played with on any of the teams that you were with that acted like that? And how does that get addressed by the head coach?
Yeah, it was Pete coming in his inaugural season in that part of that rookie class, and we had a couple wide receivers that had some solid guaranteed money on the table, a little bit more boisterous, a little bit more opinionated, kind of to your point, but they're kind of they're veterans. I mean, he cut those guys midway through training camp, and sent a statement that trembled through the hallways of you're not bigger than a team type of mentality. And so he gave a lot of guys second chances, third chances, that were kind of coming out of the league. Guys seeing that was like, I'm not in any position to be bigger than a team within that capacity, to your point, within that aspect. So I mean, sometimes you got to humble people. I mean, you kind of see it with teams trading players off because of their personality styles, or maybe they don't fit a scheme and people don't understand that situation. Go back to the Philly aspect with the whole Deshaun Jackson, Deshaun McCoy with Chip out there, and how that kind of played out. And guys are get humbled in a type of situation and get a little bitter, and now they make it bigger than what the reasoning might have been on why a guy got cut or released within that capacity, to where with Chip's offense, they want a guy that runs downhill. Shady McCoy wasn't a guy to run downhill. I mean, it was just not a personality type. But yeah, great football player. Couldn't he been a potential Hall of Famer for sure? But I mean, again, every coach has what they're willing to tolerate, or what makes their organization go, or make their offense go, or make their defense go. And I think guys, kind of lose sight of that situation because they feel like they're kind of untouchable until they get touched, and then that puts things in perspective. It puts the whole situation in perspective of like, I'm not bigger than this team. I'm not bigger. No one's bigger than the NFL, no matter what your name is within that capacity. And we've constantly seen that through the years, to where you're in one day and you could be gone the next. So,
well, I think Pickens needs to be touched. Anyhow, we'll get off the Tomlin. So other games over the weekend, Walt, did you get a chance to watch them? And if so, which one did you think was the best?
Some of those games were a little bit lopsided, and then some of those games were kind of competitive, right? I mean, you look at that Minnesota Rams game, that was a lopsided game. You wasn't expected. You thought it was going to be more challenging, but again, I think the Rams have been trending upwards to the back end of the season, though. So that kind of wasn't surprising. They were playing better football than what Minnesota was playing toward the back end of the season there. And so I knew that was going to kind of be a dangerous outcome for whoever was going to play the Rams, of where they were. They're kind of healthy, clicking on offense. Defense is playing pretty solid football there. I think they're quiet. I think they're a sleeper team because they can run the ball pretty efficient. And then obviously you have a better quarterback there with, two, Pro Bowl caliber receivers back there. the Houston game was a little interesting as well. Didn't see that kind of playing out in that regard. I thought it was going to be a little bit closer than what it was, and then it was close initially, and then Houston just kind of just stuck with it and found their niche and just kind of was executing on the offense side of the ball, even with having those weapons down. But I think people forget that Houston they have a defensive head coach back there. And everything they're gonna do, they're gonna play defense first, and like offense, they're gonna find their way. It's not like some of the weapons were hurt. Obviously, Diggs and the young guy that got injured towards the end of the season there. And I think people look at that as like, oh, they're not gonna be as strong of a team, but they're running on defensive motor juice. So that's a totally different capacity, which I can see an upset happening in Kansas City, especially coming off of this bye week. Not having probably rested their players the previous week, so they're a couple of weeks out now of not having play any football. So I think if Houston can jump on them early on the offensive side and play some stout defense early on, I think they can kind of run away with one there, still one from in Kansas City.
So what do you think about that, Ralph? We talked about that on the last show, but what are your thoughts for our Hawk Talk crew?
If this was any other team, then not one, but two-time defending Super Bowl champ, then I'd be like, wow, why did they rest their players? I mean, we can all remember when New England did it and Eli upset them in the Super Bowl, and everyone back and said, like, hey, maybe you shouldn't have rested all year. But this is Patrick Mahomes, and this is a team that knows what to do when they're in these type of games. And this is when Travis Kelce makes his money. He's no longer Travis Swift anymore. In the playoffs, he's Travis Kelce now. This is when he plays some of his best ball. This is when the coaching staff does some of their best stuff during playoffs. So I kind of like, if I'm going to play this game, if you're going to bet it, I would probably look at first half at 5.5. Why lay the 9.5? You figure if the Chiefs are going to start off, I think the defense starts off strong for Kansas City, and I think that could struggle with Houston on that one. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. That's why this number's Dave's waist size when he was playing 41.5, and it's probably going to continue to drop during this game. So I think it's going to be, if there's one low-scoring, ugly game, it's going to be the first one that's on TV on Saturday. So if you like high scoring, maybe watch college basketball.
Something like right, or watch the NBA because they don't play any defense in the NBA anymore.
No, they don't. Actually, I was just at the Clippers game, and my buddy Norm Powell laid up 29 against Houston. Horrible. All they do is just shoot threes. I haven't sat and watched a basketball game in a minute. I know it has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but you brought it up, Walt. When I'm watching warm-ups, there's no layups, there's no mid-range shots. Everyone's just on the perimeter launching threes.
Well, yeah, because they have the whole analytical phase of basketball right now. Of like, well, if you shoot the three, it's a higher percentage shot in the corners. So like, let's take more threes because like you get that extra point, and so it just becomes like a run and gun type of situation as opposed to just like, hey, the mid-range game is just lost. Right. I mean, that's why Kevin Durant is being so efficient still, is because he does have a mid-range. He capitalized on that, and he's averaged 25, 30 points a game or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, they're taking collectively almost 100 3-pointers. It's wild out there as far as the threes that they're taking. It's it's not the basketball we grew up on.
No.
That fade will change. I mean, every sport goes through a different phase and stuff. I mean, when dunking was all popular, oh, we need to raise the rims. They're just too low and stuff like that. Now they're shooting the threes. We need to push it back.
Well, look at Wemby. Wemby has more threes, I think, his first 2 years than Steph Curry, and he's a 7'6" center. Like, it's crazy. I mean, we need a legitimate 7-footer that's going to be at the post, and team's going to circle around that center and take it back to posting up and scoring efficient buckets that way.
Shaq days.
Yeah.
Days. Yeah. Hey,
bring back the old Memphis Grizzlies. with Z-Bo and Marcus Gasol.
Yeah, Zach Randolph and all those days. Yeah.
Yeah. I love those teams.
All right, guys. Hey, this is a football show. All right. So
and they play like football. That's why I like them. They were a tough, gritty team there.
This weekend's matchups. What do we got, Raphael?
I mean, we discussed the first game, Houston and Kansas City. I mean,
right.
I think Kansas City wins it, but I'm not going to lie. If Houston wins, woohoo, we're not going to see a three-peat. I'll probably be happy just for that one. I want to see something different. Washington, Detroit could be very interesting. I mentioned this on Sideline Sports. What if Washington wins this game? That means everyone in the best division in the football, NFC North, is on my couch watching the playoffs for the rest of the season. That'd be so wild. But I just think Detroit's defense is improving week after week. Their health is getting better week after week. And now they're getting Montgomery in the backfield with Gibbs. I mean, that's going to be a 1-2 punch. And no hats off to Daniels. I mean, he had a great game, but if he tries running like he did last week, that Detroit players are going to make him pay. And he's going to.
What are your thoughts on the Commanders defense?
You know what? I was watching that game, and all I can think about, wow, the New Orleans Saints D squad almost beat this Buccaneers defense. So it didn't really shock me that Washington stole that game, because all I can remember is closing my eyes and watching Spencer Rattler and the D squad of the Saints almost pull an upset. So it didn't really shock me that they lost the game. I feel bad for Baker because he's going to be remembered for that fumble, not when that rushing play that he carried the whole team, didn't even want to run to the sideline. He was running straight up the middle, carrying the ball, trying to get that first down. They're going to forget about that play. They're going to remember his fumble.
Yeah. The thing was too is
I think it was as much the running back as it was him. It was just a bad exchange.
Yep.
But man, you can see Baker wore it, man. He took it to the sideline and he took it on his shoulders that it was his bad. You hate to see a game like that or a season come down to one play, because he just had a great season for Baker Mayfield. But the one thing I think we always forget about Baker is that's Baker's game. He is streaky. He's just scrappy. He's not pretty to watch. It's fun to watch because he gets all fired up. And to your point, that one run where he's running with linebackers on his back instead of going down, and and that's fun to watch as a fan. But if I'm going to put my money on him, I have a hard time with that, because you never know who's going to show up or what kind of decisions he's going to make.
But I'll take his leadership, though. I mean, he's phenomenal on the sidelines. I mean, talking to the D squad, he's talking to the offensive line. He's pumped up and stuff like that. I heard he's great in the locker room. Yeah. It's going to be very interesting what the Tampa. I'm hearing a lot of grumblings with their coaching staff. We can maybe see a new head coach over there in Tampa. There are a lot of question marks on their play calling and stuff like that. Again, this is I said this on the Sideline Sports. If Notre Dame wins the big ship, Freeman's going to get a lot of phone calls. We all know Pittsburgh is going to get a lot of phone calls from Tomlin. And if you're one of those two guys, and Tampa Bay could be on that list that has always a great defense. Bucky Irvin was very impressive. So now you have a young running back, and you have Baker's leadership. And free agents love to go to Tampa Bay. The weather is nice. Do you rather go to Green Bay or Tampa Bay right now? So Tampa Bay is going to be very interesting. That's why I kind of want Notre Dame to win on Monday, because I think I love controversy and speculation and rumors. Because, boy, I might call Marcus Freeman to see if he wants to be an intern.
Oh, you say if he wins, he's potentially getting bumped up to getting a call from league.
Oh, yeah. If Notre Dame wins, I can guarantee you the Bears are going to say, hey, you know what? Maybe Ben Johnson, you can stay in Detroit. We're going to see. We want a culture guy. We want a guy that's going to be here, because Notre Dame was a mess when Kelly left. Yeah. Complete mess. And what he's done to that program, I think a lot of NFL coaches, he might be the second most phone call guy, Dion number one, but it's only one guy calling Dion. But I think Marcus Freeman.
Who's calling Dion? You think Jerry's calling him?
He's still calling. I still think he stays in Colorado. I don't think he goes. I don't know his son. I know Dion a little bit. I met him a couple of times in Vegas, but his son's grading for quarterback is not good. I mean, he's really small. I mean, he's got a heck of an arm and he's fast, but his ratings in the NFL is not. I mean, everyone says Cam Ward should be the number one quarterback, and that's just not Sanders. And if you're Dallas, you're going to have to trade Dak Prescott. So that means you're going to have to trade him to Tennessee. If you're Tennessee, do you really want that contract of Dak Prescott? That's going to set you back even worse. So there's no way Dion's going to Dallas without his son being a number one pick.
Yeah. You bring up some points that I don't know. What do you think, Walt?
Dion going to Dallas?
No. Of this matchup, the
Washington, Detroit.
Oh, Washington, Detroit.
Washington.
Yeah, I've liked Detroit going back to last season, especially with what coach has been doing over there, changing that culture. Obviously, it's that underdog story, what he's been able to do. They were able to follow up and continue and play and put together a great season this year. I do like the Commanders team. Could be a little biased in that, but I see Detroit winning that game. Again, I think the only thing that's in their way is maybe that bye week of starting off too slow and the Washington get up on them, early in the game. But to Rob's point, I mean, that defense is solid. It's been solid all year. Offense is clicking on all cylinders. I mean, they run the ball effectively. They have a great receiving core. The Commanders just have a tough time matching up across the board there. And they're playing Detroit. They're going to be very juiced to what's going on there, getting back into the playoffs. And so I think Lions take that one.
And they have one of the best offensive lines in the league. They're solid all the way across the line, and that bodes well for them on the run game and the passing game. I do have one thing that I think on Freeman. I don't think it takes him winning the championship to get an offer. I think it almost comes down to that, the last post game interview. If you're watching that, you can't help but love that dude. And the way he loves on those kids, and it was sincere, and it wasn't just gibberish. It was, and then you just start thinking about Rob, to your point, what he walked into there. It was a mess. Notre Dame was a mess. And it took him a minute, but he stuck to it, and it's a culture. And I think that's the kind of thing that some of these professional locker rooms are missing. And no nonsense, just this is the way it's going to be, and take the leadership, take the reins, and go with it. So yeah, I would really love to see Washington. I think Jaden just has proved himself to be a future star. It'd be fun to watch, but Dallas has just got too much for them, this early. Next year, I think they're going to be even better. Washington's going to be a force. What's the next game, Raphael?
The Rams and Eagles. If this game was in a dome, or I'll even take 60 degrees, then I might be looking at the Rams, because that offense looked really good. Even though Stafford was pretty much only targeting two people. If you're the Eagles defense, that played really well. Everyone wants to think about, Hurts struggled. Yeah, but that defense carried that team, and that defense is the reason why the Eagles moved on. That defense has been lights out all season long. I just think the weather is going to be really, really cold in Philly, and I just think the defense is going to be the big reason why they move on. I like the Eagles on this one. Even though I don't like the 6, I think it's a little bit too high. I can see maybe a 4-point win or lower for the Eagles, but I'm going to go defense on this one, so I'm going to go with the Eagles.
What's the temperature going to be?
They're saying they're probably going to be in the 20s, but wind. I think the wind starts kicking in that night because it's a nighttime game. I'm sorry, it's a Sunday game. If it was a Saturday game, they're looking at probably 10 degrees difference. The Sundays when that polar vortex comes down from Canada. I don't know why Canada hates us so much. I'm cold all the time, but I think we're probably going to be in the teens because it's going to be windy.
Hey, Walter, you ever played a polar vortex?
Polar vortex? No, the colors I played in was it was a storm. It was out in Chicago playoffs my rookie year. It was 11 degrees. It was a 0 degree wind chill out there. The sidelines was solid as concrete. The solid had knocked out 2 players out there too, actually.
Wow. So who do you like in that game, Walt?
Philly's an overall better team. I think Saquon has opportunity to have a big day out there. People say Hurts struggled this past game against Green Bay, but realistically, a lot of the receivers weren't open. I think Green Bay played a great scheme on defense, and they just watched a lot of tape and put themselves in great position out there and made it tough on them to kind of move the ball. But yeah, I think Philly does it. Philly again. I think they run the ball efficiently. I think they have good receiving core. The Rams can run the ball, but I think the Eagles' defense is solid enough, and I think they have good corners out there to guard Kupp and Puka in the secondary. I think it's one of those things to where Eagles turn the ball over and aren't able to get turnovers. I think that changes the dynamic. And then they're playing in colder weather, so that changes the whole dynamic of what's going to happen out there. The Southern California guys they're not used to that type of temperature. It's 60 degrees and windy. It gets a little frigid out here. So it's different. Yeah.
Well, I noticed you have your jacket on. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a chilly 60 degrees.
Hey, says the man who wears cutoff sleeves in 4-degree weather.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm ready. I'm ready for that, but I don't like it. And the only, I'll tell you, the X factor in that game is Stafford. That guy just continues to surprise me when I watch him and his accuracy and how quick he is to get rid of that ball, which then reduces how efficient or how good that defensive line is of the Eagles, because you have a quarterback that understands he doesn't have time and he's not sitting back there dancing around. He's going to get rid of the ball one way or another. And I think Stafford, I don't know any statistics, but man, he's not afraid just to throw the ball away either. He's just, hey, next play. Very rarely does he do something stupid to try and squeeze something in and try and force something. He's just ready for the next play. And Raphael would be the guy who would know that kind of stuff.
That's why I kind of like the Lions, because now you got Montgomery coming back. So if you're the Lions, you want to run the ball and keep Stanford watching this game. You don't want Stanford on you. If you're the Lions, yes, you probably have more weapons on offense and can go toe-to-toe with the Rams offense. But I'm thinking opposite if I'm Minnesota. I want to run the ball and make Stafford and Puka and all those guys watch the game, because Williams had a really good game for the Rams on the running side as well. So they can keep up. You have a two-headed monster now in Detroit with Montgomery coming back. Run the ball, let the Rams watch the game instead of the Rams offense play the game.
Yeah.
What's our next one, Raphael?
I want to answer Matt's question in the chat. He says, who's Seattle's new offensive coordinator? I'm hearing that they're really targeting the quarterback coach and assistant from the Vikings. Was it Matt? Grant Udinsky or Dansky. I'm probably butchering his name, but that's what I'm hearing at the Seattle is targeting. They really were impressed on how he handled to Sam Donald all through all that and stuff like that. So I think that's who Seattle's number one focus is what I'm hearing.
So quarterback OC/OC or OC/quarterback coach.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I probably butchered his last name, so don't tell me.
Well, we need both.
But next game is Baltimore and Buffalo. I mean, this game, if I would pay extra, if it was on Netflix, I would pay UFC pay-per-view prices for this game. This one is just going to be lights out. And I feel so bad for the loser of this team, because I think the winner wins the Super Bowl. Whoever wins this game, I'm calling it. I've been saying this all day today of all my media hits. Whoever wins this game, I think wins the Super Bowl. And I said that on Dave. I told you guys on this show. I'm hearing that we all know 1 and 2 for the MVP is either it's these two quarterbacks. That they're actually going to push it back a week to announce it, just because of this game right here. Everyone knows that 1-2 is coming out there. So it's kind of interesting how.
So is that gonna change the voting, or are they gonna
No, voting's done already. Voting's done already.
That's already done. Okay.
Yeah, voting's done already, but
they just don't want the distraction from the game.
I think let's say it is. I think it's Allen. He's been my MVP, but let's say Lamar wins again, or let's say Baltimore wins this game and they give it to Allen. You're going to give a losing quarterback to MVP after he just lost a game like that. I just think they're trying to maybe wish-wash that storyline of, why did we give the MVP to a guy who just lost in a divisional round? Why did we give it to the winning quarterback? So I just think they're doing it that way. But I like Buffalo. I thought Allen, he's my MVP. He's been doing stuff with no names. Yeah, Lamar's had King Henry. He's had Flowers almost every game. Who has Allen play? I think my twin brother's running routes out there catching passes. Diggs is no longer there. I mean, he's done everything he just wanted to do. So I like Buffalo in this, but I'm a little bit shocked. Buffalo opened up a 1.5 point favorite, and it flip-flopped. Baltimore's now the 1.5 road favorite. So, wow. Bills Mafia has got to be pissed on that one. So it's going to be very interesting to see who's the favorite when they kick the ball off. I like Buffalo in this spot.
So when that happens, Raphael, is that the money?
Yes, it's all money. Well, you have to think about it. You always bet what you see that impressed you the most. And last time I checked, 299 yards is what Baltimore did against the Steel, what we know of Steel Curtain. Pittsburgh's always known for defense. And so they did that on the Steelers. So we always, just like I think a lot of Rams money is going to come in on their game, because the last thing we saw on NFL was them on Monday night beating up Sam Donald. So I think that's the reason why. But I think it's all big money. But I think Buffalo money comes in because Bills Mafia, they know two things. They know how to eat wings and know how to bet football. So I think that money is going to come in.
What do you think, Walt?
I think that them playing in Buffalo gives them a slight edge, right? But I mean, Baltimore plays in cold weather, so they're used to being in that climate. They're going to run the ball anyway, so it doesn't matter if it's ideal conditions or not. They're going to run the ball. The Bills' defense, I think, is a solid defense. To the point that Josh Allen's been doing it with essentially no-name receivers. I think that could be maybe a little Achilles heel when it comes down to it. But I think it's gonna be managed in the trenches here. We know they're gonna at least get 150 yards rushing the ball there. There's no way around it. I mean, especially with Lamar running the ball. I mean, they're gonna get those yardage. Obviously, Derrick Henry, he's gonna wear you out physically. So I mean, it's gonna come down to that fourth quarter on who's gonna want it more. I just don't think that Buffalo is going to wear out the Ravens defense in the same capacity. And I think that'll be the difference factor in that. And they're really going to have to rely on Josh Allen's arm, him making, great throws to receivers. Obviously there's going to be some turnovers that could possibly be there. I think whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win that game. I think I think Buffalo's really relying on Josh kind of carrying them from an offensive standpoint, where on the other side of the ball, there's more than one weapon to be more efficient in that capacity, especially if you're looking at running the ball there. So I think that's going to be the tell who runs the ball more efficiently. I like Baltimore. I mean, I like Baltimore. I think they are due. I mean, obviously the Bills. It is tough that they're going. This is the AFC Championship game. That's just the reality of it. And I think to your point, though, Raphael, it's whoever wins this game is going to win the championship. I haven't been impressed with the Chiefs all season. I mean, they've gone by with some wins. It's not the same team as the previous 2 years. Obviously, the record is what the record is. But I mean, a field goal bounces off the upright and they miss and happen to win the game, right? They had a lot of those type of games where they should have lost and they ended up winning those games. But I think AFC comes down to these two teams right here.
I mean, I like Buffalo, but in my heart, I would like to see the Ravens. I'm a big King Henry fan. I would love to see him have a nice playoff run and the success he's having. I knew he would be successful in Baltimore. I didn't think he would have this much success in Baltimore. So watching that is very impressive. Now we could see snow. The longer this game is played, snow is supposed to come sometime in the evening. So I think that could hurt Baltimore in a run game in the second half. So that could be very interesting. So keep an eye out for that.
And the thing is, Josh Allen's used to throwing in the snow. They play in the snow. He's used to, and I don't see a drop off in that when it gets cold for Josh Allen. He even sometimes gets a little bit better, and he's just more focused and dials in, and he's still dropping dimes when it's snowing. When Baltimore got King James, I'm like, oh, it's done. I mean, they're just gonna run all over people, and it's been fun to see him have a good season. But I like the Bills in it, and I think that if it does snow, if it gets cold, isn't Baltimore? Are they a dome team?
No, they're outdoors.
They're outdoors. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, he's used to playing. I mean, he's in the AFC North. I mean, so he's playing against Cleveland. He's playing against Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. He's going to cold weather. So I mean, it's not his first rodeo being in that type of climate. I think the biggest thing is going to be the receivers catching the ball if it does get that cold, and that's what's going to hinder Baltimore within that capacity with Lamar. So I mean, you've seen a couple of those games in the past couple of weeks to where he's hitting receivers and they're dropping the ball, and he gets a little frustrated. It makes a great pass, it hits you in the hands, and you drop it, and you're dropping it for a variety of different reasons. But I know one thing: if those guys aren't keeping their hands warm, it's going to be a long day.
Baltimore snow is totally different than lake effect Buffalo.
For sure. No question. No question.
Slushy, cold, freezing, ice, rain. Hey, what's the over-under on this, Raphael?
It's the highest one. That's 51.5. And I'm a little bit shocked. Out of all the wild card games, only one of those games went over the total. I think this week we're going to see really impressive defensive plays and a lot of running from us. So I'm a little bit shocked that this number wasn't like 49.5. I think we're going to see a low-scoring game just because Baltimore want to run the ball, and I think Buffalo is going to want to run the ball too to keep Baltimore's offense.
So they played week 5 of the season?
Yeah.
Does that game have any bearing going into this game right here? Because it was 35-10.
I usually don't, because playoff. I mean, you guys know
that was so early in the season as well.
Yeah, early in the season. I mean, I've only played football and Madden, so you guys would know. You guys would be more efficient on that one. When it comes to playoff football and what you did in a regular season, playoff in any sport,
it doesn't
playoff
matter.
hockey, it's totally different.
But they did rush for 271 yards though. So I mean, it shows that unless their defense got a little bit better stopping the run, we could expect at least a 200-yard rush day for Baltimore. Is there a prop bet on that? I'm taking that prop bet. Yeah, I'll take that
prop bet on everything. Hey, so did we hit all the games?
Yep.
All right. So Rob, give us like maybe your top two prop bets for this weekend.
Well, I'll say right here, I'm going to take Lamar Jackson rushing and throwing prop bets, so it's throwing yards and rushing yards. I'll take that over. I think right now it's probably, I think it's 218.5 probably. I'm sorry, 288.5. No, I wish it was 218.5. I would probably look at that because I think he might run a little bit more than King Henry. I think maybe King Henry. So look for some play action, and then he keeps the ball and rushing attempts for Lamar Jackson. I think it's probably going to be key. And I think Barkley has another big game for the Eagles. Everyone's mad that he didn't score that touchdown slit. That was he had the most tickets written for a touchdown score, and he was most tickets written on parlays to have a touchdown score. So a lot of people were upset. So I'm going to take Barkley's rushing yards, and I think Barkley scores a touchdown since he didn't score one last game.
Well, aside from the money, that was a class act.
I agree. One, he knows that there's no I in team. I respect him since day one when he could have broke the rushing record, and he did. I mean, nothing but class comes out of him.
Yep. So, all right, and then who's the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl then?
I mean, Chiefs have the most tickets written on them just because they're the Chiefs, and we have to. They're like the SEC of the NFL. We have to say the Chiefs, or we get fined on the media. But I would say right now it's the Lions up there, and then right behind them is the Chiefs.
Oh wow, okay.
Lions are and I think
Lions have been. No disrespect to you Dallas fans listening, they've been America's team for the past I would think last 2 to 3 years. So they're the last Americans team. No disrespect.
And I see them getting that nod to get pushed up there, getting a Super Bowl, and maybe win a little something there.
Yeah, because they've been the doormat they've been the doormat for 20 years.
They don't give a ring to Barry Sanders and Megatron. I'd be upset if they will.
Yeah, they need to. That's should go without saying, right?
Hey, Walt, when you guys won yours, I was gonna try and reach out to Paul Allen and say, hey, how about a little something for all of us previous guys. he had the money to do it,
Yeah, he did have the money to do it for sure. Could have sold a couple more Microsoft shares he got in the back.
I think you can buy. I think you can buy one at a pawn shop in Seattle. I'm sure there's some Super Bowl rings at a pawn shop in Seattle.
Well, hey, the fake ones look pretty close too. I see a bunch of cats wearing those too, but that's not my idea. Hey, and I just saw Captain Seahawk is in Istanbul watching, so it's pretty cool. I don't even know what time it is in Istanbul, but it's
AM. It's AM something.
Yeah, it got to be something.
Next day.
Happy hour probably over there.
All right, hey guys, right. Hey, Raphael, tell everybody where they can find you if they want to get the best odds on all the props, and for. I know we've had you on before, but I always have to say this. When I first met Raphael, I get this like it was an email, or it was maybe even something like on Facebook, and it was prop bets on the Marvel movie of like who's gonna die. And I'm thinking, oh, this is a scam. Who's making prop bets on a freaking movie? And come to find out, my man Raphael is putting prop bets on everything. So if you guys like to gamble, you need to know where this guy's at, and you need to follow him. Where are you at, Raphael?
I just put some new odds on the new Captain America movie that comes out in 2 weeks, and I have odds for the AVN Porn Awards that are 3 weeks, so that's a different story. But you can
It's a
find me
family
over
show.
at
It's a family show.
you can find me over at docsports.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Rafael Esparza. You can find me 5 days a week on YouTube TV, Amazon Prime, and DirecTV, Driving the Line with Jonathan Coachman, former ESPN and WWE stuff. I do his show 5 days a week. And you can also find me on X at the VSI Doc Sports.
Wow, you're everywhere. Walter, tell us about what you're doing with our youth.
Coaching high school sports right now.
I know, man. But
Yeah, coaching high school
what about
sports.
your foundation?
One more time. Say one more time.
Your nonprofit, your foundation.
Oh yeah, United Champions for Change, and NFL alumni stuff.
Yeah.
You can find me on X, WaltTherm3 or KingWalt6 on Instagram. Yeah.
I follow. Great follow. You guys must follow him. He's a great follow.
Yep. Hey, we're
try to do more
because we're all great people, man. We're all doing good stuff. Hey guys, check out the First and Goal Project. Our tournament that Walt plays in every year is April 7th. Our Celebrity and Veterans Golf Invitational Coto de Casa. The information is on my website, www.thefirstandgoalproject.com, and it's the number one ST and goalproject.com. There's still spots available. We're 3 months out. We're over halfway sold out. We have all the returning sponsors. So far, we've got Steve Hauschka. We've got Max Strong I just talked to the other day. We got King Walt. I'm trying to think of other Seahawks that we have. They're going to elude me, but we also had some decent players: Marshall Falk, Eric Dickerson, Michael Cooper, Thurman Thomas. Some Hall of Famers going to be joining us. I just talked with Cheryl Miller, Hall of Fame, and nice. She's looking at her calendar. And guys, it's a great event. We raise money for local veteran support programs. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Dink Ninja and our pickleball event. That's going to be May 10th in Austin, Texas. So all you guys out at the Common Interest, come out, hang out, sponsor, and play and have a good time. I think that's all.
I wish I could do that April thing. I would love to do that thing with you. I missed it last year. It's always WrestleMania weekend. I always have to work WrestleMania weekend.
We have TVs, bro.
I have to do media stuff. I'm not watching.
I gotta be there in person. What do you mean?
I can do media stuff.
Yeah. Well,
sign autographs and kiss babies.
Where's it at this year? WrestleMania. Vegas. Oh, nice.
Is it that weekend?
Yep.
Well, it's a Monday game. We play Mondays.
The Chancellor Championship games after that. College basketball.
Nobody cares about that stuff. It's at night. Come play golf in the morning, and then I'll make sure there's a TV monitor, and we'll have a mic set up. We actually have you gotta check this out. We got this guy Hammer, and I Hammer. If you're watching, and I'm gonna mispronounce your last name, but it's like Von Dutchen. It's Hammer Von Dutchen, and he's got this huge, $1 million bus, Hammer Vodka, and we're gonna have, and he's got these director's chairs he sets up with 5 different cameras. They'll be interviewing all our celebrities, and we have Cali FX that are going to be there with their bus and CBD products, and there's more booze than anybody humanly can drink that's on this course. And we've got Backyard Mary and Tipsy Missy bars set up at registration, and of course, like I said, all our veterans. Last year we sponsored over 40 veterans to play for free. We had 4 Marines from Camp Pendleton, the 3-5 battalion. And I can go on and on. It's a great event. So Rafael, you're always welcome. I got you. And we do a meet and greet the night before, which is a lot of fun. But anyhow, guys, hey, this is another week of Hawk Talk. We appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you following us. We are going to do this through the off season, but we'll at least keep it through the Super Bowl. But we will be there all week on Media Row. Walt's still trying to figure out if he's going to make it, but I'll be there all week broadcasting with Sideline Sports. So follow us there. Hey, y'all be blessed. Thank you very much for supporting us, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks, yeah.
Go Hawks, Rafael.
Go Hawks.
Hey, who's your team, Rafael?
Battle Hawks.
Who's your team?